Hello, hello, hello again. Bigfoot world. How are you today? Okay, so today I wanted to express some of our new theories, which I'm going to share with you. Let's talk about this first theory here that many of us have ran into in the field, right here. But let's first look at livescience.com. Alright, so here's this. What many researchers have been finding over the years is a lot of deadfall or trees that are on the ground or so on and so forth. They've been smashed to some type of a pulp, torn apart, dug through using a rock, so on and so forth. For years, many people thought it was for grubs and stuff like that, which, don't get me wrong, it still can be. But in my location, in a few other people's locations, it actually seems like whatever it is, since we're talking about Bigfoot, is possibly eating the actual tree. Here's an article. After observing mountain gorillas in Uganda for nearly a year, scientists believe they have discovered why the animals eat decayed wood and lick tree stumps, behaviors that have puzzled primate researchers for years. The answer? Sodium. Sodium, guys. Trees and the bark and everything inside is very high in sodium. So is this something that could help us with our research? So let's say they are eating the bark. Let's say they are tearing it apart and scratching through it. Not like a bear post, not like up and down. It's usually on the ground, and it's a lot of times obliterated. They smash it and they tear it apart, and it looks like they're sitting there eating the wood. There's usually a spot cleared out, right next to that tree, like you can see something was eating. Are they lacking sodium? Is that possible? Is that something they crave? Could this help us in our research to actually locating a Sasquatch? I recently talked with a few people and a few weeks ago, and as of yesterday, the day before, another gentleman, which you guys know, Kelly Shaw, regardless who you like and who you don't like, we share everybody's findings. They at the RMS Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization, RMSO, are finding the same thing. So one person in Missouri we talked to, another in California, I'm in New York, another person in Virginia. So there's people experiencing this phenomenon right here. Now, the thing is, if it is right here a Sasquatch or a gorilla, we don't have gorillas, guys. So you can read this study here by Cornell University. I urge you to, because it's something new, it's something good. It's on livescience.com. It's intriguing. It's definitely interesting, guys. And I think it may be useful to helping us find Sasquatch. Now I'll go back. So see, all I typed in was gorillas eating wood. And it's kind of funny that it's already linked to something from 2006. So they've been noticing that in regular gorilla activity for a really long time. Is it possible that Sasquatch is eating wood? Well, from what many researchers that are actually boots on the ground in the field are witnessing, this is what it seems like. Okay, so now what do we want to talk about? We've also developed a theory, possible relative to Sasquatch. So let's just go ahead and type this in real quick. Sasquatch migration. You can type Bigfoot migration, whatever you feel. And there's a number of things above top secret, the BFRO, Bigfoot hunting, Bigfoot encounters. So many people are talking about migration. and it just seems like they leave the topic, and that's kind of what it is. So what we're trying to do is put together an interactive map of sightings all over the place, all over the U.S., to see if there's a migration. But what I keyed in on was, the encounters, the encounters section. So what I want to say is relative to Sasquatch migration here. Bobby Short actually writes this. No shortage of opinions. So if you go to BigfootEncounters.com, it's actually a pretty good article if you're trying to tie migration, like other animals that we know do, to migration of Bigfoot. So you take some considerations in favor. Bigfoot seem to be wide-ranging. They haven't stuck around long. It's kind of like a hit-and-run strategy. Bigfoot has been observed at certain locations, primarily or almost exclusive during certain seasons. If they're omnivorous, which there's speculation about that, so we really don't know. So I kind of have to throw that one out. Heavy coat for first survival, severe winters, etc., etc., etc. What we wanted to go into and talk about is the actual sightings. 90% of the time, guys, if you look back and you hear all these reports, it's either crossing a road, in a field, near a house, near a trailer, all these things. But what's reported is a huge upright bipedal creature that is fairly large, usually above 8 feet tall. We're hearing 8 feet, 10 feet tall, 9 feet tall in retrospect. What we're not hearing is, I seen a female with breasts, or a juvenile actually cross the road or the highway, or anything like that. We're hearing that it's a male, right? So what we've been doing is reaching out to other researchers, and a lot of people have stated that every year they're getting a new male Sasquatch into their area. Now, why does that become relative? So let's put two things together. If we're always seeing huge species cross the road or in the field, so on and so forth, that's indicative of a male, correct? Well, if researchers are stating, hey, I'm getting a new male into my area, a new male in my area every year, that is showing that possibly the males are the ones migrating. And as we know, we see females and juveniles that are together all the time. They may stick in their core areas. The males may be moving off to these other areas to find other females to mate, possibly, because if they continue to mate in the same gene pool, what's going to happen is the deformations that we do see, or the retardation, or eventually it'll kill off the gene pool. So with that, is it possible that the male Sasquatches are the ones that are moving around? It seems likely, because we're seeing less females, we're seeing less juveniles, and when I say we, I mean the people that are having the encounters and the sightings, not necessarily the researchers, because the researchers that are on the woods do see the females, do see the juveniles. I'm talking about the sightings that are new, the sightings that have come about. It's always something crossing a field, or or a road, and it's always a large male. Very rarely do you see the female or the juvenile. So putting that together, I believe that the males are the ones migrating and the females are staying back. But if you look at this article, Byrne, Krantz, DeHinden, Green, some of the best people that have been out there doing research, some of these guys have passed away. Actually, most of them, or all of them, they've done all kinds of research. They've even looked into migration. But I think we need to start tying it to, the encounters somehow, because, relative to what people are seeing and so on and so forth, it could make, a really good case. Also, which would really make sense, is that is why we're having varying looks across the country. Like people in California or Utah, New York, Florida, they're all tending to look different. Some look nomadic, some look like apes, some look hybrid, some look humanoid. Kind of what's happening is, if a Sasquatch from, let's say, over here in California ends up making its way to Colorado, and mates, what they're going to do is create some type of new looking Sasquatch. And what can happen is, all right, so we touched on those theories of the migration, and we touched on the possible eating of the wood, if you want to call it a wood ape, or so on and so forth. Now we're going to touch on some paranormal stuff here. Regardless if you are a diehard researcher, this is a sector that cannot be ignored here. So we just typed in, paranormal Bigfoot, and it gives you a whole breakdown here on this site, which is pretty good. And they break things down as Bigfoot, an alien. What else do they say? The Stan Gordon factor. There's a lot of different things. Is it a spirit, interdimensional? Does it vanish or does it cloak? A lot of people are reporting these things. Does Bigfoot travel through portals? There's so many things that are going on that we're experiencing. It's very hard to correlate together, right? Do they live underground? There's so much in this paranormal aspect. They even come up with their conclusion, but I can't give that yet. Have we experienced paranormal activity while searching for Sasquatch? Yes, we have. Have many other researchers? Yes, they have. Do they want to talk about it? No, they don't. And the reason is either A, they're afraid, B, they have to worry about their image, or C, it cannot be directly correlated. Just because you're out searching for Sasquatch or Bigfoot and you have these paranormal experiences, unless you see one vanish right before your eyes. So, in our attempt now, what I'm actually doing is I'm reaching out to all the Bigfoot communities all over the place, all the little forums and so on and so forth, and I'm attempting to get a retrospect of how many paranormal things have happened. I don't necessarily want to know really what happened, but I want to know the location, as close to the location as possible. Maybe a road, state and county, something of that. And what I'm trying to do is push pin, put on a map, each one of the paranormal encounters that are related to searching for Bigfoot or things happening while out looking for Bigfoot. And what I'm going to try to do is there has to be something. There has to be an explanation. I'm going to try to connect these places together by some means or another. Something has to mesh. There's not this many people having all these paranormal things happen to them while searching for Sasquatch to just leave it swept under the carpet. We can't do that anymore. So I'm going to actually go out now and take all these encounters. People say cloaking, mind speak, this, disappeared, that, all these things. They've had these lights, they've had orbs. I'm going to try to pinpoint each place on a map, and then somehow I'll have to figure out why they correlate together. Are there vortices? Are they direct lines? Like the ley lines of Nazca, Peru. Something is. I'm trying to tie them together. And what I want to do is I want to keep everybody silent, because people do not want to, be out there knowing, hey, I've had a paranormal encounter and so on and so forth. But what they do is, they'll message you, they'll inbox you, they'll talk to you about it briefly, and you can at least get the location, so you could put a push pin in and then say, hey, okay, that lines up with such and such a place, or so and so. Or it's directly this way. There's certain factors. There has to be an underlying something or other that connects all these places together. Once we can do that, that's testable. Then you have your theory, and then you can do all kinds of stuff with that. So you have to start doing the research first, which nobody's done. No one has actually tried to tether together the sightings and migration. It seems that there's nothing out there relative to just the males migrating. There's nothing really out there except real gorillas eating the wood, except what real researchers are finding out now and willing to express. Nobody's tying any of these paranormal locations together. They just speak about it, and then they either lose interest or they stop talking about it. And since nobody is doing that, what tends to happen? They're called crazy. They're deemed all these different names. You're shunned. You're set aside. But what I'm trying to do is tie things together to make it more absorbable, so we can absorb the content, understand, and say, well, maybe it is. I mean, we're dealing with Sasquatch here, which hasn't been proven yet. So we're trying to expand our theories. So maybe one day, if someone does conclude or there is actual proof, we can say, see, we were on the right track, and that's kind of where we want to go with this. Back to the Wood Ape, the North American Wood Ape Conservancy. You can check out their page. They're doing some good things too. Bob Strain, great person. So I if you get a chance, support them. Do what you got to do. It's all about the real research, guys. And then lastly, I opened up my WordPress here, bigfootware.com, bigfoot2016, etc.com, at WordPress. That's me, and I've written some things here that you can check out. Not So Nocturnal Sasquatch. It's actually still loading. The Paranoid Survival Sasquatch Theory, where I relate that everything is based on their survival and what paranoid actually stands for. So if you read that, what I've done here before was, back in the day, there was a Jacob's photo, if you're not familiar with it. That was partially it, where you could see what I believe is a Sasquatch walking. And people from Bluff Creek had done a rendition, and then we wanted to go ahead and give our opinion or a rebuttal to their statements. Our theories is back then, and some flaws, because everything has flaws, and you have to remember that. Then we go into some Sasquatch sightings or misidentifications. So we've written a fair amount of stuff. Possible Sasquatch, certain research areas. I used to always discard people that would say, hey, I'm 7 minutes or 6 minutes out of the city limits, or 5 minutes away from a city limit, and I've got Sasquatch activity. I always put a check mark through that, a big X, and said forget about it. But we started doing the research, and it was amazing what we found. We started finding tree structures like this in very rural areas. You should see this structure. There's well over 100 branches stuck, weaved, twisted, all over the place. And the thing is, they're not even of the same tree species. These branches don't match the tree. So it was quite amazing. We actually pulled a foot cast out of that area recently. I took my son with me. So don't discredit people that say, 5 minutes out of the city. Now, if it's in the city, or people say it's on their roof, or that's highly questionable, and things like that. But we break down a lot of things and we share it. So if you get a chance, check out my WordPress. I'll share it in the link down below, and I usually share it on my Facebook page, Ryan Reading. So till next time, guys, have a good one. Stay squatchy.